Basically, what I was watching over the weekend was the media trying to take away your right to protect yourself from crime and tyranny by using these poor traumatized teenagers from the Florida shooting to, come on and get at your emotions and spew nonsense and sort of make you feel like you should do something you shouldn't do. And the thing about this is in the broader sense, this is what I'm constantly harping on about how the left goes for narrative while the right tries to stick to the facts. So the right comes on and says, well, gun level has increased hugely, but crime has gone down. All these kids are mentally, there's so much correlation between mental illness and mass shootings and between fatherless households. Maybe we should start talking about that. The guns are there to protect our freedoms. Maybe we should arm teachers. No. Don't worry about that because we have a crying teenager here looking at you and calling you names. And so that's what you should do. And the problem is, the thing that I keep emphasizing is that facts win in the short term. People are smart. They look at the facts and they say, this is not the issue. The issue is something else. But over the long term, narrative creates the atmosphere in which people think. Okay, it's like when Barack Obama got reelected and we kept saying, look at the facts. He's doing a bad job. The economy is bad. The Middle East is worse than it was. Everything he's touched has turned to garbage. He was reelected anyway because of this narrative of, Saint Obama is here and now we're redeemed from our racism and America has left its past behind. And if you don't reelect him, right back into the pit. And that created an atmosphere where I think a lot of people were afraid not to reelect this guy who was just not doing a good job. So watching this stuff, I mean, it's embarrassing. Most egregious was this poor kid, David Hogg. And I'll tell you why I call him a poor kid in a minute. But he looks like a guy from Central Casting for a film about how fascism came to America. He looks like this little Nazi who is like using all these kind of sophisticated adult tricks with this little kid face. And it reminded me of a movie that no one has ever seen but me. It's a movie called Wild in the Streets. It came out in 1968. It starred a guy who was supposed to be a young star, Christopher Jones, as a rock star who takes over the government. And it ends with absolute tyranny as they put all the people over 30 in concentration camps and feed them on LSD. So help me God, that is, and it had a really good song. I can't remember the song for Wild in the Streets, but the theme song was really good, really kind of catchy. But here, just take a look at this guy. Before I show you David Hogg, whom I'm sure if you watch TV at all, you saw over the weekend. Just take a look at this. David Jones, he looks exactly like him from this film, Wild in the Streets. This is him, I believe this is his inauguration speech as he takes over the presidency at 25.
Understand. I mean, do you really want a man in his 60s running the country? I mean, what do you ask a 60-year-old man? You ask him whether he wants his wheelchair facing the sun or facing away from the sun.
And so there's that self-assurance, that absolute, he's better than you, and you, if you're old, you're washed up, that whole thing. So here's David Hogg, this kid who was in the school where the shooting took place, and he says his sister lost some friends. In one interview, he said it was 2 friends. In another interview, he said it was 3 friends. Who knows? But he goes on and he attacks Dana Lash, the spokeswoman from the NRA. And I do know Dana, so I admit to being a little prejudiced. She's a lovely person, really nice person, very honest, straightforward person. And here he goes after her with complete ignorance. And everything he says about her is untrue here.
She's national spokeswoman, and as such, she's a national propagandist for the NRA. If you listen to her speak, she's not really saying anything. She's sounding positive and confident, and that's what she wants the people in the NRA to believe, her 5 million plus members. She wants them to think that she's on their side, but she's not. She's actually working with the gun manufacturers because...
So you're trying to drive a wedge between the NRA leadership and its members?
Oh, I don't have to. She's doing that herself, honestly, because she's showing that she doesn't care about them. She doesn't care about police. Why do you think she's criticizing these people? It's because she's going after them, and she wants her base to continue attacking them so she can sell more guns.
Some of the criticism of the NRA, and of Dana very personally, are you concerned that you might actually lose support if you get too personal, too incendiary?
Well, she's already done that by attacking Sheriff Scott Israel, who obviously there were some major mistakes made here and ones that we have to look into. And I don't want to say anything until after the investigation's done because I don't know what happened. I'm just a student that had to witness this horrifying incident. But honestly, how can you say that you support law enforcement if you're just constantly attacking them over this? How hypocritical and disgusting are you?
Jeez, and Stelter is coaching the kid, telling him, now you're going too far here, but the kid won't stop. You know, he's trying to teach him how to, you know, if this kid looks like a self-serious proto-fascist whose arrogance is matched only by his ignorance, that's just saying he's a teenager. That's what teenagers are like. You know, that's what they're like. The fault is not, it is not with him. It is for the press putting him in front of a camera as their spokesman to try and gin up emotionalism. I mean, even Stelter can see they've gone past the point where this is being effective and they've made it worse. But now CNN becomes an irony-free zone at this moment because Dan Rather, the granddaddy of fake news, is sitting next to this guy. This is Dan Rather, chased out of the business because of his misuse of fake documents to try and get at George W. Bush. I mean, Dan Rather is like the guiding spirit of CNN. It doesn't matter if I lie as long as I get that Republican. Stelter says, give the kid career advice. Listen to this.
Anything you want to know from Dan Rather?
Got any advice?
Writing is the bedrock of the craft. If you want to do anything in journalism, learn to write, dedicate yourself to a lifetime of improving your writing. I can't guarantee you'll be famous and make a lot of money, but you can have a very satisfying career if you concentrate on writing.
Absolutely.
And that actually would apply to activism as well, right? To giving a political speech, working on honing the writing. Yeah, that's
Well,
interesting.
exactly.
Yeah.
That the best politicians are those who write their own speeches.
Huh.
John Kennedy, Barack Obama, Ronald Reagan to a degree.
That is unbelievable. This boy, I mean, I feel for the kid. I feel for the kid because somewhere along the line, this kid crashes and burns, and these guys aren't going to be around. I mean, if they want to give him career advice, they should have given it to him before he went on the air instead of parading themselves as this kid's mentors when they're really abusing him. And it really is an abuse. You know, and when he sits around and talks about, oh, I witnessed this horrifying incident, he's like just too slick by half. And look, kids, look, you were 17, whoever you are. You know, you were 17 at some point. You were an idiot, right? I was. You know, of course, being 17 and being a bonehead are the same things. Those are synonyms. You know, it's like, what are you? I'm a bonehead or I'm 17, but I repeat myself. You know, I mean, so this kid is on TV and they're using him. It really is wrong. I shouldn't laugh. It's wrong. But that's how desperate they are to get at your civil rights. And when they'll stage a march, and it'll be the children's march, and the reporters will be weeping, and you'll be laughing because you'll know the NRA is gathering adherents and gathering signatures and getting more members and getting more money because they're overstepping the case. But they are creating an atmosphere 20 years down the line that we are not doing. We don't do the same thing. We don't do it as relentlessly as they do. And we don't own the mechanism for doing it. We don't own ABC, NBC, and CBS, which are corporate owned. And all big corporations are in favor of big government. Meanwhile, right, the narrative that they're pushing is we shouldn't have guns. Only celebrity, bodyguards should have guns, and only the police have guns. These are the same police who, under the Obama administration, were killing black people for sport. They were just going, under Obama, black police just went out and killed young black men for fun. But now they're the only ones who are supposed to have the guns. Meanwhile, in Broward County, this Broward County Sheriff's Department dropped. It was like one of those plays that they play on Sports Center as a hilarious place. They dropped the ball so many times that it was like, it was like fumbling from one team to another. Broward County, I mean, this kid who was on this, David Hogg, is defending the Broward County. He's doing that typical political thing where he's condemning Dana Lash for everything she says, and he's accusing her essentially of being a child murderer. But the sheriff, who really did blow it, the sheriff said, that's okay. Then suddenly he goes into the passive voice. Mistakes were made. Not they made mistakes. Mistakes were made. So we went to Broward County just because we wanted to see how they handle their department. We found them. We took some video of them swearing in new deputies. Here it is.
As a deputy of the county.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are we going to get guns?
You are?
Do we get to ride in a patrol car?
You do?
You're a fool, Otis. This is going to be fun.
Quiet, Boomer. Sounds like somebody could get hurt. Isn't that right, Barney?
Could be.
That's what bothers me. I never cared much about injuries. They're very painful. I want any part of this.
But they do, however, they do deliver very, very important, because since they're the only ones who are going to have guns, they do deliver gun training.
I'm afraid there won't be any time to educate you men in the proper use of firearms. Somebody could get hurt. You see, if you're not familiar with firearms, These babies can go on. Now, you see what I mean?
Now, that would be funny if it weren't so close to what Broward County is like. These guys, there was an armed, at least one armed guy outside the school, and apparently, according to eyewitnesses and according to the Sheriff Israel, he didn't go inside. He hid in this little stairwell with his gun pointing at nothing. And also, they had been contacted over 20 times, somewhere between 20 and 30 times. They had been contacted about this kid, the guy who went out and did the shooting. So Jake Tapper, who I said should be ashamed of himself after that CNN town hall meeting, he should be. However, he tried to redeem himself on his show. The problem is nobody watches his show. They did, they maybe watched that town hall thing, but he had Sheriff Israel on, and he ripped him to pieces, and Israel just looked absurd. Here's a cut from this.
When did you find out that Deputy Peterson had not gone into the building? How soon after the shooting did you know that?
Not for days. How many days? Investigators looked. I'm not sure.
Because you spent much of the Wednesday night town hall on CNN with the entire Stoneman Douglas community, students and teachers and parents, attacking the NRA, saying that police need more powers, more money to prevent future tragedies. You didn't disclose any of this to the crowd then, the Stoneman Douglas high school community. Did you know it then? Did you know it Wednesday night?
So now Israel says he's done a great job, and Tapper really goes after him. This is cut number 14.
Are you really not taking any responsibility for the multiple red flags that were brought to the attention of the Broward Sheriff's Office about this shooter before the incident, whether it was people near him, close to him, calling the police on him?
Jake, I could only take responsibility for what I knew about. I exercised my due diligence. I've given amazing leadership to this agency.
Amazing leadership?
I've worked. Yes, Jake. There's a lot of things we've done throughout this. This is you don't measure a person's leadership by a deputy not going into these deputies received the training they needed.
Maybe you measure somebody's leadership by whether or not they protect the community. In this case, you've listed 23 incidents before the shooting involving the shooter, and still nothing was done to keep guns out of his hands, to make sure that the school was protected, to make sure you were keeping an eye on him. Your deputy at the school failed. I don't understand how you can sit there and claim amazing leadership.
Jake, on 16 of those cases, our deputies did everything right. Our deputies have done amazing things.
It's an amazing interview, and Tapper did a great job on it. And he really, I mean, there was one thing. This wasn't on the Tapper thing, where this guy who's a Democrat, obviously from the way he takes responsibility, we know he's a Democrat. He let this thing go. He made so many mistakes, and this guy is standing outside, and possibly 3 other deputies were standing outside doing nothing. And listen to him talk about leadership. I want you to listen to what this guy's idea of leadership is. He should resign, and if he can't resign, the governor should toss him out. This is cut 12.
I'm the sheriff. My name's on the door. The people responsible are the ones who took the calls and didn't follow up on them, as it was with the FBI, as it was with any person. Leaders are responsible for the agency, but leaders are not responsible for a person. I gave him a gun. I gave him a badge. I gave him the training. If he didn't have the heart to go in, that's not my responsibility.
What I love about this is the logic, because he starts out by saying, I'm the sheriff, my name is on the door. Now, the next sentence there is, I'm responsible for what happens in my department. If I say, I'm the author, I wrote this book, my next sentence is, I'm the one ultimately responsible for what's in the book, right? But instead he says, I'm the sheriff, my name's on the door, but I can't do anything about it. If my deputies aren't doing their job, that's on me just because my name's on the door. It is an amazing failure of leadership, an amazing failure of the narrative. And this is the true story that's going on while the left and the media, but I repeat myself, are selling this emotional narrative. And just one more piece I just have to play, because Dana has taken so many hits from CNN, and she went on with Allison Camerata, and Allison Camerata is just like, I can never understand with these people when they say that they're not biased, they're not lying, they're not being dishonest. Do they believe that? I really do believe they do. I don't think Alison Camerota is sitting there going, yeah, she's got me on this. I should just admit it, but instead I'll lie. I think she really does not know what they do. So here are two cuts spliced together of Dana claiming something, Alison Camerota saying it never happened, and then it happening.
You're saying that, though, it's malicious.
It
but
is.
You're saying that it's malicious, but yet on your network, you've allowed accusations against me and millions of law-abiding Americans and to be indicted as child murderers. I've watched you, Allison,
We've never
on your
said
program
that, Dana.
at this very time slot.
We've
and you've
never
allowed
said that you were
to
a
stand
child murderer.
uncorrected on your
Listen,
network.
you've
allowed
used
it to
all
stand
of this
uncorrected
heated
on your
language.
network.
That's
if you want
not
to have
true,
a discussion
Dana.
of maliciousness.
It's not true.
But I don't want to get
We've
here, Allison,
never
though, to
called
go back
you a
and
child
forth with
murderer.
you. It is true.
We have
your
to be
network's
fact-based.
coverage. No, you've allowed the accusations to stand, Allison. Please follow what I'm saying. You've allowed the
don't believe
accusations
you.
to stand.
I don't
You've done
believe
nothing
you,
to
and
correct it.
I don't
You've
believe
done
you.
nothing to
But
correct
listen,
that.
Dana,
And that is malicious. And there's malicious
know.
coverage by the network.
Dana.
If you can't get elected without taking money from child murderers, why are you running?
Hey, guys, are you going to be able to go back to school?
It's like, I have to believe that she is not like this sinister, lying design. You know, she does not. They do not know what they are doing. They are so immersed in the narrative. They're so immersed in the narrative that they're selling that there's no one around them. There's no one to say to them, you know, Allison, you did do it. Allison, stop. There's no one there because they're all on the same page because they never hire anybody who disagrees with them. Let me just tell you why, though. Let me read you a couple of things. Where I think they are going with this, and I said this from the minute Donald Trump was elected, but it's good to remember. The idea is to create a sense of crisis. I think, what was it, 3 times as many people died in that Las Vegas shooting? Why aren't they reporting on that? Because they cannot get the same traction from these kids willing to go, who want to be on TV and want to sell their ideas. They're just about the narrative. So listen to, here's a piece from Politico, left-wing venue. It's called Trump is Winning by Alex Brandon. And I'm selecting these paragraphs, but I'm not taking it out of context. Donald Trump is on track to win re-election to the presidency of the United States. That's supposed to be the scare lead, right? But it's just true. He is on track to win. You know, right now he's more popular than Obama was at the same time. Now he says, yes, despite Russiagate, despite Crapholegate, and despite whatever gate he blunders through next, despite approval ratings that would make Nixon weep, despite his mind-numbing political misjudgments, defending accused pedophiles, for example, and the endless, unnecessary daily drama, Trump is winning. It is actually happening, people. Now, let's go back over this. Russiagate. Russiagate should be called Obamagate. All Russiagate has brought to light so far is that Barack Obama used the government to silence and spy on his political enemies. That is all Russiagate is. It's all it ever was. I mean, there is no Russiagate. There's only Obamagate. So that's the first thing. So that's just the narrative. All they have to do is repeat it as if it's already established. Let's talk about I'm translating it to Crapholegate. You know, the fact that Donald Trump said something that was true about Haiti, and everybody got upset and they cried. Oh, the people on CNN cried. That's how you know it's serious. So that's not an important thing. Despite whatever gate he blunders through next, which means nothing, despite approval ratings that would make Nixon weep, which are better than Barack Obama's at the same time, and despite his mind-numbing political misjudgments defending accused pedophiles, for example, what he said was you should elect Roy Moore so we don't have don't lose the vote in the Senate. In other words, it's this list of things that is supposed to have the weight of panic about it. And yet at the same time, he then goes on and he says, consider Trump's record as president. He actually has something to run on. He cut taxes. He's rolled back regulations. He's put ISIS on its heels. The economy and the stock market are humming along again, despite recent turmoil. Any other Republican incumbent running on that record of relative peace and prosperity would be in pretty good shape for re-election. Trump, as loathed as he is, might not cruise to re-election on an electoral landslide like those predecessors, but if jobs continue to... In other words, when he makes the list of Trump's accomplishments, the accomplishments are real. The crises are manufactured by the press. They're in the guy's head, but the accomplishments are real. And by the way, don't think I'm saying that Trump doesn't court drama and melodrama. He does. He creates a lot of this atmosphere himself. I know he does. But that doesn't mean that you should be fooled. You shouldn't be fooled by Donald Trump or the media. In USA Today, Jim Beckerman, no, it's not just you is the headline. Everybody is exhausted, and no, it's not getting better. Wildfires, terror attacks, rising tensions with North Korea, racist rallies, political investigations in Washington, the nonstop barrage of presidential tweets, more and worse mass shootings from Las Vegas to Florida, a tsunami of sexual harassment accusations, the role of Russians in our elections, climate change, red state, blue state division, and not one, not two, but three of the worst hurricanes on record put together, and it's understandable why exhausted Americans are limping along and running out of gas. Now, let me ask you something. All those things happened. It's not like the other article where he's making stuff up. Is that your life? Is that your life? I mean, some of my friends were caught up in that mudslide in Montecito. Is it your life? It's not my life. You know, my life is humming along. You know, I don't feel this. This is the news. When you read the news, when you take the news too seriously, when you forget the fact that the news is condensed, all the bad news from all over the country, a big, big country with lots of people in it, goes into the front page of the paper. All the bad news from around the world into the paper. They want you to believe that that's the world, but look at your own life. I say this to liberals all the time when they're telling me that Donald Trump is a Nazi. I say, like, are you running? Are you hiding? Do you have a hole behind your shelf where you go because Donald Trump is coming to get you? You're not living like that. When they tell me it's the end of the world, I say, do you have an IRA? If you have an IRA, how can it be the end of the world? You cannot believe it's the end of the world if you have a retirement account. People make decisions based on the facts, but they make decisions in an atmosphere created by narrative, and the left creates these narratives of panic, of crisis, in order to get you to do the wrong thing. Luckily, you have me. It's just the Klavanless weekend. It's only the Klavanless weekend where they can operate with impunity. All right. Hey, wait, before you do our crappy culture, there is something else I want to play. I want to play this thing that happened with Michael Wolff, who went to Australia nobody told him that in Australia they have journalists. So this guy he's sitting in for the Real Guy on their morning show. He goes after Michael Wolff because Wolff said that he was absolutely certain that Donald Trump was having an affair right now in office. And watch what happens.
Just last month, you said you were absolutely sure that the president was having an affair. And now you say that he is not.
I'm not getting anything.
You're not hearing me, Mr. Wolff.
I'm not getting anything.
We were hearing each other well just before. You're not hearing me, Mr. Wolff?
Anything. Do you hear? I'm not.
Mr. Wolff was hearing me before, but he's not hearing me anymore. So it looks like the interview may be over.
Here's the tape of what Michael Wolff actually heard, what was coming over his headset.
You said during a TV interview just last month that you are absolutely sure that Donald Trump is currently having an affair while president behind the back of the First Lady. And I repeat, you said you were absolutely sure.
Yeah, I can't.
Last week, however, you backflipped and said, I quote, I do not know if the president is having an affair. Do you owe the president and the First Lady an apology, Mr. Wolff?
I can't hear you.
Just last month, you said you were absolutely sure that the president was having an affair.
I'm not getting anything.
You're not hearing me, Mr. Wolff?
I'm not getting anything. No.
We were hearing each other well just before.
I'm not getting anything.
That's awkward, isn't it? Now, this is the guy that the left, one of the wonderful things about the left is they know they're running a narrative, even as they were debunking this guy's information from his stupid book about Donald Trump. They were having him on. They were putting him on their shows. They were putting on morning shows and saying, well, if it's, even if the facts are wrong, the narrative is right. And it's part of this whole idea of creating an atmosphere of corruption, authoritarianism, and crisis that is simply, as far as we know, not going on. If tomorrow they come out and say, oh, Donald Trump is using the IRS to silence his political enemies, you'll hear it from me. I will not defend his actual bad act. But as long as they're just talking about their tone of crisis, I don't see any reason why any of us should panic and get upset, including people on the left, by the way.